Do you see now the difference in our power?
Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today we're making another video and we're talking about rank inflation. I made a video about rank inflation probably about 5 or 6 times throughout the lifespan of Tekken 8, and sort of towards the end with video 4, 5, 6, I always thought it would be my last. Like, okay, this will be the last time we talked about it. But then the developers update the game and everything gets worse. So much worse to where it's not even worth talking about in Tekken 8, but it kind of is. The first thing that I'll talk about, and I think this is the most important thing to understand, is why the ranks got this way. I know we like to blame the developers and say that the developers is making the game easier to carry everyone. And yes, that's true, but why is important. What happened all the way back in season 1, the developer had I don't know how many ranks, but they had all the way up to God of Destruction. They didn't have the God of Destruction plus ranks. And at that point in time, you know, all the pro players, they got God of Destruction 1 within like the first 2 weeks of the game. Those guys, they speed run the game and they want to be able to say, like, I was the first one with this character. I'm the top, you know, rank in the game with this character. So that's something that they love to do. And in season 1, with that being like their main goal, they got to the top of ranks and they had nothing else to do. Everyone else was still kind of on their grind and playing the game normally, and they had nothing else to do. And what they eventually did over the coming, you know, months and, you know, weeks and months, they started to complain on Twitter about like rank being meaningless. They have nothing to strive for. It's boring, right? They turn on rank and they play for rank points and they just sit there at God of Destruction. They have nothing else to strive for. And the developers responded to that because something that also happened during that same exact time is Street Fighter added, I don't know if they added bonus ranks or if they changed their rank structure, but people seen what Street Fighter did and they was like, oh, we want that too. Do something like that for our game. Another thing that I wanted to add into this video is how impactful and influential pro players are, because some of them, a lot of them, are the biggest content creators and the biggest streamers. So when they're complaining about things either on Twitter or on Twitch stream, that bleeds into the player base and it can quickly become something that the developers can't ignore. And that's kind of why this whole thing took priority the way that it did, because the pro players, you know, complaints swept the timeline. So the developer took the feedback from the pro players and the people who were just sitting at the top of God of Destruction, and then they added bonus ranks for them to achieve. Now the bonus ranks was once celebrated. It was like, yes, we have more ranks and we have something to strive for. Now in season 2, those bonus ranks was very, very cutthroat. You saw pro players barely be able to make a dent. Well, you know, they got like to GOD2, GOD3, and then they kind of maxed out. At the end of season 2, there was only one person who got to GOD6, and that person was getting hate. People was like, oh, he did it in an easy region. He only did it because of this. He only did it blah, blah, blah because of that. You know, when you're at those top ranks, you kind of do death matches a lot with the same person because there's only like, you know, 5 people in the queue. So you match up with the same person over and over again. People were hating on bro. There was like, oh, he only did it because his opponent was easy. I could do it too if I fought that guy over and over. People were mad hating. But once again, the pro players who couldn't progress in those ranks, the feedback that they gave the devs is that, you know, these ranks are too hard. We are stuck at GOD3, GOD4. We can't progress. And what did they do in season 3? They made GOD ranks easier to progress through. And that has had a ripple effect where all of the other ranks has become easier by default. Before we continue this breakdown, if you're enjoying the video, please consider subscribing to the channel. We're trying to reach 40,000 subs. Also like the video. This is the part that's not okay, is that people will ignore the pro players complaining about rank, and then the developers listening to those complaints, they will blame the devs for making the game easier, but then they won't blame the pro players for being a reason for the change. Without the pro players, we don't have God of Destruction plus ranks, and then without the pro players, we don't have the God of Destruction ranks getting easier and causing the inflation that we see now. So I just wanted to say that at the start of the video, because I see so many people blame the devs, and yes, they do a lot of stupid things and they make a lot of wrong decisions, but sometimes the players ask for things and it has consequences, and then those consequences are then you know, spit back at the developers, which is not fair. Where's the player accountability? So in this new environment where the developers have made GOD plus ranks super easy, you have consequences to that, such as the Moonsault Slayer being currently GOD3. In season 2, I was stuck at God of Destruction, and I didn't really try to push to God of Destruction 1 until like the last week and a half of season 2, because I kind of just was like, who cares? But I couldn't do it in that week and a half. I was hard stuck. Soon as the update went live and they made the changes that they made, not only did I get GOD 1, I got GOD 2 and I got GOD 3, and ever since then I've kind of been maxed out, bro. I kind of just been like done with rank, done with grinding because it was way too easy. I'm hearing other people have gotten GOD 6 very easily, and I'm like, nah, bro, I don't even feel right with walking around with a GOD 4, 5, 6. And it's kind of at the point to where, like, what's the difference? For the people who are in that GOD plus section, you guys tell me what's the difference between a GOD 3, 4, and 5? Not much, bro. It's all the same. It's just a blur. So I kind of checked out once the game gave me GOD 3. I just felt like it was so unearned, and I felt like not being able to get it literally like 2 months ago and now having it is so crazy. But what happened at the lower ranks is even crazier, because this is where I want to show you guys the ewgf.gg website. This is a website that has a lot of data in it. You guys can go to this and look at your own stats, look at everything. This is just a great website. Go there, navigate it. I won't explain too much, but the part that I do want to talk about is rank distribution. What you're seeing right now is the rank distribution for season 1. This is at the end of season 1. Now, this graph here takes into consideration your main character and non-main characters. So the stats will be a little bit inflated for that reason, because if you have, let's say, God of Destruction, your whole roster of characters get boosted to a level. So that's impacting this data here. But even with that being the case, you can see that the average player was stuck at Fujin. You can see that the average player was like, stuck in purple. That's where everyone was at. And even this, by Tekken 7 standards, is inflation. It's, Tekken 8 is more inflated than Tekken 7. In Tekken 7, red ranks is where you start to see this sharp decline. So that's something that people noticed in season 1, and we thought it was super bad. We were making a big deal about it, but it got so much worse. Here comes season 2 after the developers listened to the complaints of the pro players and added the GOD plus ranks. And it's not immediately like obvious the consequences of this. This is once again the end of season 2. All mains and non-mains, right? And you can see that now the blue ranks is where the most players are congregated or held, right? So no longer is red, orange, green, and even purple to a degree is the primary place where people are at. This is like, the heart of the game. The active players is in blue rank. On the lower end, when you see like God of Destruction and Supreme, you see 1% of players, 2% of players. And then once again, notice how at the end of season 2, we can actually see. So there was 4,700 players at GOD 1. There is 1,400 at GOD 2, 351 at GOD 3. There is only 66 at GOD 4. There is 9 players at GOD 5. There is only 1 player who had GOD 6. So that is how the top ranks stacked up in season 2. Now, when you look at one of the previous updates for season 3, this is I believe before Kunimitsu came out, it looks somewhat similar to season 2. But the difference about this is that something that you also got to take into consideration is we have a huge influx of new players. Like if I was to quickly bring up this other graph for a moment, Yujiro's reveal was super hype, bro. It brought in so many players to the game, and all the way over here on the right side, you can see this huge spike. This is how many people are showing up and playing the game. This spike rivals that of launch Tekken 8. 326,000 weekly players, 6,175,000 ranked battles. Now, those numbers are basically equal to the launch of Tekken 8, which means a lot of people showed up to the game and was playing the game. And yeah, that's incredible to see. So you have an influx of so many new players and returning players, and as a result, that is altering the stats a little bit. Like it's a little bit more chunkier down at the bottom section because people are flowing through, they're rising. But you can still see the similarities in season 3 and season 2, or early season 3, right before Kunimitsu release. You still start to see this down slope at Supreme and God of Destruction rate. But then if I was to skip ahead to where we're at now, This is mains only, so the non-mains is excluded, and you were given a grim picture, a very grim picture, right? So Tekken King is now the most populated rank in the game. Early season 3, that was blue ranks. In early season 2, that was also blue ranks Fujin. Once again, in season 1, Fujin. So it kind of changed a little bit to where now Fujin is no longer the top rank, it's now Tekken King. And then you have something that's never happened before, where in Tekken Emperor rank, Tekken God rank, Tekken Supreme, God of Destruction, all of these ranks are now more populated than the blue ranks. So basically, these 5 ranks, strangely enough, it's hard to wrap my head around it, but those 5 ranks are quote unquote the new blue ranks. Blue ranks was the new red ranks, but now the GOD ranks are now the new blue ranks. And this video isn't made to shame people or to diminish their accomplishments. I'm just looking at the stats and showing you how players are moving in mass across ranks. Tekken 7, red ranks. Tekken 8, season 1 to season 2, blue ranks. Now in season 3, the gold ranks are the new blue. But focusing on the tail end of things, you can see how this impacts the top ranks, where there is 10,000 players who have GOD 1. That is a wild number, because even if you take into consideration all mains, in season 2, that was only 6,000. So that's almost double who have the rank now. Then you have 6,000 players at GOD 2. You have 4,000 at GOD 3. You have 2,000 at GOD 4. You have 1,500 at GOD 5. You have 744 at GOD 6. And then at GOD 7, you have 24 players. Now, you have currently at the time of recording, no one has reached GOD Infinite. And the reason why that happened is because it's very difficult to do so. I am told that you have to go on a 50 win streak, and not just a 50 win streak because pro players can do that. They have to do that against other pro players. And that makes it, I don't want to say impossible, but I was talking about this previously, and someone made the joke that it's easier to win Evo Japan or Evo Vegas than it is to get GOD Infinite. And I mean, it kind of is. If you were to win one of those tournaments, you would probably need to win like 8 matches. You would need to defeat like 8 or 10 people to get to, from the pools to grand finals. Someone could do the specific math on how many people you would need to beat to get to grand finals, and it's more than 50. It's kind of crazy to think about how difficult it is to do it and how no one really has tried it. Multiple players like Nee is going out there and getting a bunch of GOD 7s, and he's not even attempting GOD 8. I think once time passes, someone will dedicate themselves and go on that 50 grind. It will not be easy, but it will be accomplished soon enough. But overall, this is how the ranks currently stack up. The GOD ranks are the new set of ranks where the players are gathering in mass, and then you're starting to see a little bit of inflation in the early GOD ranks. But once again, like I said at the beginning, this is all because the pro players were begging about not being motivated to play ranked. The developers trying to satisfy that. Pro players complained that it wasn't easy, it was too difficult. They made it easy, so this is the consequence of that. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe, and bye bye.